I know that conservatives don't like to admit that they have feelings all the time because they mock it on the left side. And I just wonder if a lot of this is not to use it in a bad way because I don't think that emotions are a bad thing, but like maybe it
Hmm.
is a lot of resentment, a lot of like just frustration. Would you describe yourself as a white man? And would you say that you do feel you are these people, for example, the lady you mentioned, the author, when you read those things, you feel like attacked because you are a white man?
Well, I think so. That's the essential problem with critical race theory or the woke perspective is that it views people by groups and not as individuals. And viewing people by groups is significant if one group is favored over another. Like, let's go back, of course, to the slavery period in the United States, or even after that, the Jim Crow period. Blacks were not given the rights they deserve, and whites were benefiting from that unjust situation. Absolutely. So let's consider male and female or white or person of color where it really makes a difference. And if the legal situation is rigged towards white people, that's wrong. But I had nothing to do with any of that. I'm 67 years old. And of course, as a white man, I've never been discriminated against for being black or being Hispanic because I'm not. But have I actively done anything to misrepresent or denigrate people of color? I honestly can't think of anything that I've done. And if I have, I'd like to know about it. I've disagreed with people on these issues. And in fact, the issue is so volatile is that you can lose friends over this issue. And I think in one case I have, even though I didn't want to. And that's very sad. But I think now we're seeing a counter response to a lot of this where white folks are saying, let's just get over this and talk about being Americans, or if you're a Christian, being made in the image and likeness of God. And let's not bring in race unless we need to for some reason. I generally support the colorblind approach that came out of the civil rights movement, except with a caveat. And I was talking to some Black brothers and sisters about a year ago, a year and a half ago, and we talked about this colorblind approach. And they said, well, we don't, and they were not far left people. They said, we don't really like that so much because if you look at us, we are Black. Or if I look at you, you're Hispanic. So I can't just pretend that there's no color. And your ethnic background and Black folks' ethnic background is part of their life. It's part of their history, and it's part of our history. So you don't deny that. So that's a really good point. And I refined it by saying, well, I think we should be colorblind with respect to merit, but not colorblind with respect to individual history. I think that's the way to view it, that we need to use equal weights and measures, as scripture says. You don't want to benefit one person to the detriment of another person on an irrelevant factor like race. So I don't think you should benefit people by race or cut people down or hurt people by virtue of race. So the DEI mentality is, well, people of color have been treated badly before, not given opportunities. Now they need to be bumped up the ladder simply because they're Black or Hispanic or whatever they are. And I say, well, let's not do that. Let's have, or at least try to have, an equal level playing field and equal opportunity. And, when you use these DEI metrics, that is, you get bumped up quite a bit if you're a person of color. People will sometimes wonder, well, why are you there as a pilot? Why are you there as a surgeon if you're a person of color? We absolutely have to have merit in those kind of situations. We need competent people, whether they're Black or white or yellow or red or brown or whatever they are. We need competent people who are there because they can perform at the right level, not people there because they're filling a racial quota. That's just not helpful to anybody, to my mind.
And I think a lot of the other side assumes that it's impossible for people of color, POC, I learned that in your book,
POC, yeah.
people of color to be able to reach certain heights, certain
Mhm.
positions just by merit. How would you respond to that?
Well, I
That's an
think,
assumption, isn't it?
yeah, it's an assumption about systemic racism. The whole system is rigged against people of color. I don't think that's true. I think what matters the most for people is their values, their work ethic, their view of the family. Thomas Sowell has been arguing this for 60 years. And he's pointed out that even when people are discriminated against because of race in a particular country, if they have strong family values and a good work ethic, and they can defer gratification and so on, even if they're discriminated against, they can still succeed in those particular countries. And there's also a man named Robert Woodsen, who has been around for a very long time. He recently resigned, but is still involved with the Woodsen Center. He's an African American man, and he's all about community development. And what he will say is the most important thing for Black folks, and I think that's most of the demographic he works with, is your character and working hard and getting the education you need and being loyal to your family. He said you can have racists out there, and if you are the right kind of person, you can still achieve and overcome the prejudice, even if people are racists out there. Now, that's no argument. We'll just let the racists alone. We can still overachieve. Not at all. Nobody should be a racist. Nobody should prejudge on the basis of skin color or anything else, right? But the critical race theory approach is the whole system, the whole structure is rigged against people of color, and the only way to correct it is DEI, and then basically what we used to call reverse discrimination, or discriminate against the people who used to benefit unfairly. Now cut them down to size so you can bring up the people of color. And I say, let's try to create a fair system of equal opportunity where merit allows you to rise to the top, and talented people will. I mean, you look at someone like a Ben Carson, he was extremely talented. So he rose up through the ranks in medicine and became one of the most skilled surgeons in the world. He even pioneered surgeries. He separated two twins that were attached many, many years ago. I just saw a photo of them. They're like 35 years old. Siamese twins. He invented the method of separating Siamese twins that were joined at the head. And if you listen to his story, what does he say? Well, yeah, there was some discrimination against me. My mother said, work hard, read books, go to school, stay in school, and you can do well. And of course, he's a man of faith also. He has Christian faith, so he trusts in the Lord and asks God to bless him and open up doors for him. I think that's the way forward. It's not, well, I'm a person of color, so I'm oppressed. You're a white person, so you're an oppressor. Now let's just set up this huge governmental system to redress these previous wrongs through reparations or DEI. I don't think that's right, and I don't think it's helpful. And that's what I argue in my book, Fire in the Streets.
It doesn't help because, for example, Ben Carson was able to have that mentality thanks to his mother, the importance of
Mhm.
good parenting.
Yeah.
And without that right thinking, he would have just thought perhaps he was a lost cause, so why even try? You know, he'll never achieve what he has. So I do think that's so important for people of color that they
For
have that
anybody. Yeah.
mentality. And
Mhm.
not just that, but I mean, if we're talking about achievement in the sports arena, for sure, we have so many rich black athletes and other ethnicities as well that they have been able to achieve a certain amount of fame, success, and
Mhm.
their ethnicity wasn't in the way.
Right. And I've heard a number of African Americans say, the percentage of highly paid athletes is so small. Very, very few African American men or women will reach that level. But if you graduate high school, get a job, keep the job, get married, stay married, Star Parker has been arguing this for 30 years, then you will likely do well in life. But it's all about morality, discipline, and fortitude for anybody, red and yellow, black and white, really. And I think it's best to try to have a system that honors merit and equal opportunity. And then let's see what people can do.
Yes, absolutely
Yeah.
agree.